Let me ask you something that most people are not willing to sit with honestly. What if the way you are starting your mornings is blocking the very blessings God has prepared for you? Not because of anything dramatic, not because of a major spiritual failure, not because of something you would even recognize as a problem, but because of habits so automatic, so normalized, so deeply embedded in the routine of your daily life, that you have stopped questioning whether they are serving you or costing you. James Allen wrote that the outer conditions of a person's life will always be found to reflect their inner beliefs. And what he understood was that those beliefs are not formed in the dramatic moments. They are formed in the ordinary ones, in the first minutes after you open your eyes, in the thoughts you allow before the day has fully begun, in the choices you make before the world even knows you are awake. Those minutes are the most sacred and the most powerful of your entire day. The mind is more open in those moments than at any other time, more impressionable, more receptive, more capable of being shaped by what it receives. And most people are giving those minutes away to distraction, to complaint, to the noise of a world that does not know or care about the direction of their soul. And in doing so, without realizing it, they are planting seeds in the most fertile soil of their day that will grow into exactly the kind of fruit they then spend the rest of the day wondering why they keep harvesting. Today, we're going to look at 4 morning habits that are blocking the blessings God has for you. Not to condemn, not to add guilt to your day, but to give you the clarity to see what is happening and the tools to change it. Because the morning you wake up to tomorrow does not have to look like the morning you woke up to today. And it starts with understanding what you're currently planting and what you could be planting instead. Stay with me until the end, because the 4th habit may be the one that is costing you the most. The first habit that blocks God's blessings is starting the day without acknowledging Him. Think about a child who wakes up every morning in a house provided by their parents. The food on the table, the warmth of the home, the safety of the night just passed, all of it provided by someone who loves them deeply. And yet this child walks right past their parents every morning without a word. No acknowledgement, no gratitude, no recognition of the love that sustains their entire existence. They simply take what is given and move on as if they produced it themselves. How would that make you feel as a parent? And yet this is how many of us begin our days in relationship with God. We wake up with breath in our lungs, strength in our bodies, a new day full of possibilities, and we reach for our phones, check our messages, scroll through content, and step into the day as if we arrived here by our own power. Proverbs 3 verse 6 says, "In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths." But how can we receive divine direction if we have not even taken a moment to acknowledge the one who is directing? James Allen wrote that the strong, calm person is always loved and respected. And what he understood about that calmness was that it does not come from self-sufficiency. It comes from alignment with something greater than the self. The person who begins the day in communion with God is not beginning in their own strength. They are beginning connected to the source of all strength. And that connection changes everything about the quality of their day. Not because prayer is a ritual that unlocks a mechanical response from heaven, but because prayer is the act of aligning the mind, the heart, and the will with something higher than the immediate circumstances. It is the act of saying, before this day begins, I acknowledge that I am not navigating it alone. I acknowledge that the wisdom I need exceeds what I can produce on my own. I acknowledge the goodness that brought me to this morning, and I open myself to the guidance that can bring me through it. Mark 1 verse 35 tells us that very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up and went to a solitary place where He prayed. If the Son of God, who carried the fullness of divine authority, saw the necessity of beginning His day in prayer, how much more do we need it? This is not about the length of the prayer. It is not about the perfection of the words. It is about the orientation of the heart before the day makes its demands. 5 minutes of genuine acknowledgement, of sincere gratitude for another day, of honest invitation for guidance into whatever lies ahead, is enough to change the entire quality of what follows. So let me ask you directly, what's the first thing you do when you wake up? Is it acknowledging the one who woke you? Or is it reaching for something that has nothing to do with the source of your day? Because the answer to that question is setting the spiritual tone for everything that follows. The second habit that blocks God's blessings is waking up in complaint rather than gratitude. The moment some people open their eyes before they have even fully arrived in consciousness, the complaints begin. I do not sleep well. I do not want to do what today requires. I'm already tired before the day has started. The body that God gave you, the breath that sustains you, the day that was not guaranteed, all of it immediately used as the raw material for dissatisfaction. And hear me clearly, complaining is not just an innocent habit. It is a declaration. It is your mind announcing, before anything else has happened, that what God has provided is not enough, that His goodness is insufficient, that the mercy of another morning is less important than whatever discomfort you are currently feeling. Philippians 4 verse 6 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving let your requests be made known to God." The instruction is clear. Thanksgiving first, not after the circumstances improve, not when you finally feel like it, not once the difficulties have resolved themselves. Now, in the morning, before the day has given you a reason. James Allen understood this as a law of the mind. He wrote that thought allied fearlessly to purpose becomes creative force, and the opposite is equally true, that thought allied to complaint becomes a destructive one. What you rehearse in your mind in the morning becomes the lens through which you see everything that follows. The person who wakes up in complaint will find confirmation of their complaint everywhere throughout the day. Not because the day is objectively worse, but because their mind is filtering for evidence of what they already declared to be true. The traffic confirms it. The difficult colleague confirms it. The small setback confirms it. All of it feeds the narrative that began before they even got out of bed. But the person who wakes up in gratitude will find something different. Not because the day contains no difficulty, it will contain difficulty, but because their mind is oriented toward what is good, what is possible, what God has already provided, and that orientation changes what they notice, how they respond, and what they attract. James Allen wrote that you are today where your thoughts have brought you, and the thought that begins your day is the most powerful thought you have, because it is the first instruction given to the most open and receptive mind you will have all day. So here is the practice. Tomorrow morning, before you speak a single word, before you check your phone, before any complaint has a chance to form, name 3 things you are genuinely grateful for. Not a performance of gratitude, genuine gratitude, the breath in your body, the people who matter to you, the fact that yesterday is behind you and today is ahead. Whatever is true and good and worth acknowledging. Name it out loud or in the quiet of your heart, and watch what that simple act does to the quality of everything that follows. The third habit that blocks God's blessings is filling the mind with worldly noise before filling it with purpose. What's the first thing you expose your mind to every morning? Before you have said a word to God, before you have had a single intentional thought, what is pouring into the most receptive and impressionable mind you will have all day? For most people, the honest answer is the phone. Social media, news, messages, notifications, the endless stream of information and opinion and other people's urgency flooding into a mind that has not yet established its own direction. And the result is predictable. You step into the day carrying weight that was not yours to carry. Anxiety about things you cannot control. Comparison to images that were curated specifically to make you feel inadequate. The emotional residue of other people's dramas absorbed before you have even decided how you want to feel about your own day. Romans 12 verse 2 commands us to not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And the morning is precisely when the renewal needs to happen. Before the world has had its say. Before the noise has established the pattern for the day. In the quiet space between sleep and the full beginning of the day, when the mind is clean and open and capable of receiving something that can actually transform it. James Allen wrote about the mind as a garden that can be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. And what you expose it to first in the morning is the most significant act of cultivation or neglect available to you. If you plant fear, anxiety, and comparison in that garden before it has been strengthened with anything of substance, that is what will grow throughout the day. But if you plant gratitude, purpose, and the Word of God in that same garden first, those seeds will also grow. With the same faithfulness, the same consistency, the same indifference to your circumstances. The garden simply grows what it receives. So ask yourself honestly, what are you planting first? Because Matthew 6 verse 33 does not say, seek the kingdom of God eventually. It says seek it first. First, not second. Not after social media. Not after the news. Not after the notifications have established how you feel about the day. First, because whatever you seek first reveals what is ruling your heart. And what rules your heart in the morning rules your entire day. The practice here is simple, but requires genuine commitment. For the next 7 days, do not touch your phone for the first 30 minutes after you wake up. Use that time instead to read something that feeds your spirit. A psalm, a chapter of scripture, a page from a book that builds your faith and expands your sense of what God is capable of doing in your life. And watch what happens to the quality of your thinking throughout the day when the first voice your mind hears is not the world's, but God's. The fourth and most costly habit that blocks God's blessings is rushing into the day without seeking His direction. Most people wake up and immediately begin executing. They know what needs to be done, they have their list, they have their schedule, they have their plan, and they step into the day with complete confidence in their own capacity to navigate whatever lies ahead. And that confidence, however well-intentioned, is one of the most spiritually dangerous postures available, because it assumes that human wisdom is sufficient for the day's challenges, that the traps the enemy has set can be identified without divine insight, that the opportunities God has prepared can be recognized without spiritual clarity, that the decisions that will matter most can be made correctly without the guidance of the one who sees what no human perspective can see. Proverbs 16 verse 3 says, commit your work to the Lord and your plans will be established. Not commit your work to the Lord after you have already made all the plans. Commit them first, before the execution begins, before the decisions are made, before you step into territory that only God can fully see. James Allen wrote that the will to do springs from the knowledge that we can do, but he also understood that the deepest and most reliable knowledge does not come from human confidence alone. It comes from alignment with something higher. The man who moves through his day in alignment with a purpose greater than his own agenda moves with a different kind of clarity and a different kind of effectiveness than the man who moves in his own strength. Think of a GPS navigation system. Before you start driving in unfamiliar territory, you enter the destination. Not because you are incapable of driving without it, but because without it you risk turns that cost you time, roads that lead nowhere, and directions that take you miles from where you need to be. God is the GPS of your life. And every morning when you step into the day without consulting him, you're driving in unfamiliar territory without entering the destination, making decisions without divine counsel, taking on burdens he never assigned to you, fighting battles you were never meant to fight, missing opportunities that were right in front of you because you were moving too fast to recognize them. Luke 6 verse 12 tells us that Jesus went out to the mountain to pray and spent the night praying to God. Before choosing his disciples, before one of the most significant decisions of his earthly ministry, he did not rely on his own understanding. He prayed first. How much more do we need to do the same? So here's the challenge, and I want you to take it seriously. Tomorrow morning, before you begin your first task, before you check your first message, before you make your first decision, pause for just a moment and ask simply, Lord, direct my steps today. Show me what you would have me do. Protect me from what I cannot see, and let your will be done in my life today. That prayer does not have to be long. It does not have to be eloquent, but it has to be genuine, and it has to be first. Because when you acknowledge him before the day begins, when you invite his direction before you start moving, when you commit your plans to his hands before you execute them, something changes. Not always dramatically, not always in ways you can immediately see, but in the quality of the decisions you make, the clarity of the direction you move in, the peace you carry even when the circumstances are difficult, and the blessings that find you because you positioned yourself to receive them. So let me bring this together. For habits that are blocking God's blessings, starting the day without acknowledging him, waking up in complaint rather than gratitude, filling your mind with worldly noise before filling it with purpose, and rushing into the day without seeking his direction. James Allen wrote that clean thoughts make clean habits, and what he understood was that the quality of the morning determines the quality of the day, and the quality of the day, repeated over weeks and months and years, determines the quality of the life. You cannot separate the spiritual from the practical. The morning is not just a time of day. It is the foundation upon which everything that follows is built. And if that foundation is being laid with distraction, complaint, noise, and self-sufficiency, do not be surprised when the structure that rises from it feels unstable. But if that foundation is laid with acknowledgement, gratitude, intentional cultivation of what is good and true, and the humble seeking of divine direction, the structure that rises from it will be different. Not perfect, not without challenge, not exempt from the difficulties that every life contains, but aligned, rooted in something that does not shift with every change of circumstance, capable of standing when everything else is shaking. Tomorrow morning is your first opportunity, not someday, not when the habits feel natural, not when you finally feel spiritually prepared enough to begin. Tomorrow, before the phone, before the noise, before the day makes its demands. 5 minutes to acknowledge, to express gratitude, to plant something good in the most fertile soil of your day, and to ask for direction before you start moving. If you're committed to making that change, write it in the comments below, because declaring it publicly is the first act of the discipline that will make it real. If this video moves something in you, like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear this and subscribe to the channel. There's so much more to explore together. See you in the next one.